Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a couple of cards that I created using some stamps and dies from Hero Arts, along with the Karin Brushmarker Pros. Now, these have been out in the card making world for quite some time, and this here is actually my first experience playing with these markers. So I don't want to go into too much detail about them, but I want to give you a look at them, share with you what I found works for these and what doesn't work, and just kind of give you an overall basic look. So I have this set of 60 because I'm a go big or go home kind of girl, and I want all the colors. And here is a look at the individual marker. Now, each marker has a clear barrel. You can see how much ink is left. And upon my research online, I found out that they each have about 2.4 mLs of ink. How long that's going to last is completely going to depend on how you're using it. Now, for most water-based kind of watercolor type markers, which this is, I find that there are two kinds of papers that work best. And those two types of papers are usually either the Tim Holtz or Reinker watercolor cardstock or Bristol Smooth. So I am going to experiment with both of those types of cardstocks today to see what works well. I am starting out by arranging the Hero Arts Decorate a Cake and Festive balloon stamp sets onto this watercolor cardstock. So the smaller piece is actually the Tim Holtz or Reinker watercolor cardstock. And the larger piece is going to be the Bristol Smooth, and we're going to look at how both of these work. I'm mounting those in my MISTI, and I'm going to ink them up with some Gina K Obsidian Amalgam ink. This is my favorite black ink right now. It is so deep, dark, rich black. It is waterproof. It is Copic marker friendly, and I absolutely love this ink. And I'm just going to ink up those stamps really well and stamp them down onto my watercolor cardstock. Now, because this is my first time experimenting with these markers, I'm going to try a couple of different things. I'm going to try, like I said, a couple of different papers. I'm going to experiment with the blenders that come in this 60 set. And I'm also going to experiment with a water brush. Now, these markers have a dye-based ink and a flexible nylon tip. And so these are the kinds of markers that you can use, kind of like your Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers or the Tombow brush pens. They're going to have like that flexible brush nib. They're going to be water soluble or water reactive so that you can create watercolor effects. And I have to say that the color range is really what drew me to these markers. So I'm just finishing up stamping all of my images so that I have plenty of things to experiment with. And then I've pulled out several colors that I wanted to use as well as the blender here. So I have some pinks, some orangey yellows, and some greens here. And I'm going to start with this balloon here. Now I have my lightest pink, and I want to be able to create some color transitions like I would with the Copic marker, where I have some darker areas and some lighter areas. So I've scribbled some of that light color into the center, not worrying about blending right now. And then I'm taking my dark marker and going around the edge to create that shadow effect. And then I'm coming back in with the lighter marker to try to blend this out. Now I'm starting off by working on the Bristol Smooth. And I have to say, I was getting a little bit of a blend, but it wasn't drawing the color out as far as I thought it would, just using marker on marker. So now I'm coming in with the included blender pen here, and I thought I would try to kind of see if I could get this color transition a little bit smoother. And I was really finding that I was not getting the blend that I wanted with this blender pen. Now, these are touted as having a flexible nylon tip, but I have to say, these for a brush marker had a pretty firm tip. I was kind of surprised that they weren't a little more flexible. So now that I was finding I wasn't getting the results that I was kind of looking for on that Bristol Smooth, I'm going to switch over to the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock and try kind of the same sort of thing. So I'm starting out with my darkest color around the edge of the balloon. Then I'm going to come in with a medium to see if I can blend this out, and then I'll come in with the light. Now, once again, with these markers, from marker to marker, I was not finding an easy blend just doing it on the paper like this. Now they will blend, you can work with them, but because the tips, even on the blender pen, are a little bit firmer than I was expecting. I was finding that as I was going over these areas to try to blend more and more, that pressure and moisture on the cardstock was causing a lot of pilling of my cardstock. And so I was not super happy with these results, just marker to marker or with the blender pen. Now, just like with any other medium that you use, you're going to have to experiment with things and find out what works and what doesn't work. So now I am back to the Bristol smooth paper. I'm starting out with my darker color around the edge of this balloon. And this time, instead of the blender pen and marker to marker, I'm going to come in with a damp, very slightly damp water brush. And I'm going to start moving this color. And this was the moment that I was like, yes, this is what I want these markers to do. So it took me a few tries to figure out what worked and what didn't work with these markers. But once I found that they were really blending very smoothly and kind of melting out with my damp water brush here, I found that this was the method that was probably going to work best for me with these markers. And keep in mind, I am back on the Bristol smooth cardstock here, and I'm getting great results. So you can see just with the water alone and one marker color, I'm getting a really nice, great gradient blend here. But if I want to add more color variation to this kind of blend here, or this watercolor area, I can come in with the various shades of the pink marker, add more of that ink in, and I'm going to get even more color variation in my blend. Now, also, I want to mention that this image that I'm using here, this balloon image, it's a very simple image, and I find simple images like this are really great to kind of experiment with, to really see, you know, how your mediums are going to react, kind of how you can get the color blends that you're looking for. So if you're looking to experiment with colored pencils, Copic markers, Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, Karin Brush Pro markers, a simple image like this is really great for kind of experimenting with these different mediums. So you're going to see I came back in with a little more dark around the edge and then blended that out with my water brush. And now I'm moving on to my next balloon, and I'm going to do the dark around the edge. I'm going to put some of this medium and light color into this balloon as well. And then I'm going to come in again with my water brush and blend that out. Now, I do want to mention, I am not using a ton of water on this brush here. This has a definite brush tip. It's like a nylon brush tip, but it's very flexible and it's just slightly damp. I kind of feel it on the back of my hand before I take it to the paper to make sure that it doesn't have too much water flowing. And just that damp brush tip was enough to get this color moving and melting and blending into itself. And I have to say, I was really pleased with the results that I got when I kind of found my formula for using these markers. Now, up until this point, you've seen me use a couple of different markers to create the shade variations, but I wanted to kind of come in and do a single marker blend. So I'm using my lightest pink here, and I've sped this up to kind of save you some time. And I am just blending that out with my damp water brush. And I got a really beautiful blend on this as well. So if you do have a smaller set of colors in these Karin Brushmarker Pros, you can get variation and a nice, beautiful blend using just one color marker and your water brush. Now, if you want to try to use the blender brush, I say go ahead and experiment for yourself. You may find something that works for you that didn't necessarily work for me, but I'm just sharing my experience. And like I said, this was my first experience with these markers. Now, because I used water on this cardstock and the Bristol Smooth has a little bit of a coating to it, it can take a little bit longer to dry. So I just hit it with my heat tool to dry it. And then I'm going in and stamping some detail images, adding some cheeks to my little cake here, which is going to be a unicorn cake, and blending those out with my water brush again. I'm going to add a little bit of kind of eyeshadow to my unicorn here with a little bit of a purple at the corner, and then blend that out with a damp brush. And you can see I also stamped the unicorn ears and the horn and a couple of those flowers to go along with it. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to color more of these images as well to finish out my card projects for today, but I kind of just wanted to give you a basic look at these markers. Now, once I have all of my images colored, I'm going to go in with the coordinating dies. These are all from Hero Arts, like I mentioned before. I'm going to position them over my stamped and colored images, and I'm going to hold them in place with some ThermoWeb purple tape. And then I'm going to run them through my die cutting machine. So I'm using the Gemini Junior here. I'm just placing those into my die cutting sandwich and running that through my machine. And then I have some perfectly die cut images that are ready to go on my card. And you're going to see as I continue to die cut here, I went back and colored some more balloons, and I kind of experimented with some different colors in the set here, and I kind of created a rainbow of balloons that I'm going to be using on one of the cards today. Now, when I saw this Decorate a Cake stamp set from Hero Arts, I knew I had to have it. And that's because I love unicorns, I love mermaids, and I love rainbows. I'm basically a 3-year-old trapped in a 40-year-old's body. And this year for my birthday, even though it was in quarantine, my husband had planned a huge 40th birthday surprise party for me. That did not come to fruition because we were put on shelter-in-place orders here in California. But he could not get the deposit back for the cake that he had ordered, which was going to be a unicorn mermaid cake for my 40th birthday. So this year for my 40th birthday, I had just the top of what was going to be my cake, and it was a unicorn cake, and it was absolutely adorable. My husband did a great job, and I'm so sad that I did not get the birthday bash that he had planned because it was going to be huge. But I do have to say, unicorn cakes are my favorite, and so when I saw this Decorate a Cake stamp set, I knew I had to have it. So I'm going in here with some liquid glue, and I'm adding the little ears and the horn on the top of my cake. I'm going to add my little flowers, and I also added some shimmer to the horn and to the eyeshadow area on this cake using some tonic aqua shimmer pen, and also the shimmer pin in the Midas Touch, which is the gold color that I used on the horn. So this cake has a little bit of shimmer as well as those adorable eyelashes. I mean, come on. Can you even stand it? I absolutely love it. Now, once I have my cake assembled, I am going to take this Ocean Waves background stamp. This is also from Hero Arts. I'm inking it up with a little bit of pink ink and stamping it onto this vellum die cut circle that I die cut using the Hero Arts nesting circle dies. And that's just going to give me a little bit of texture on this vellum. And you can see I also created that happy die cut with a die from Hero Arts. This is the Happy Fancy Message die or something like that. By the way, I will have everything used in these projects in the description at YouTube and linked over at my blog. So if you're looking for something specific, be sure to check there. Now, once I have that stamping on the vellum circle, I'm going to start assembling everything. This happy die cut, I actually took a strip of pink cardstock and I typed on it using my We Are Memory Keepers typeset typewriter. So I just typed the word birthday on there so that I could create a custom greeting. And now I'm going to attach it to my card base using a little bit of foam adhesive. So I am using various levels of adhesive here. I have some foam adhesive on the back of my cake and some foam adhesive on the back of my greeting strip as well to kind of give this card a little bit more dimension and oomph. But if you prefer a flatter card, you can absolutely use tape runner adhesive or a liquid adhesive to adhere these pieces in place. Now, overall, this card design is very simple, and I chose to take my sentiment strip and kind of put it vertically on the card rather than horizontally. It fit best that way, and also it just kind of gave a little bit something a little different to the design. But overall, this card is very simple, and the star of the show is really that beautiful watercolor unicorn cake that I have on here. Now, once I have everything adhered onto my card base, I am going to just add a few more finishing touches with a little bit more of the aqua shimmer pen from Tonic. And of course, I'm going to add some sparkling clear sequins as well using a little bit of liquid adhesive because, you know, that's just my jam. The sparklier, the better. That's my motto in life. Now, this card is a fun birthday card for your favorite little girl, or if there's anybody like me out there, a 3-year-old that's trapped in a 40-year-old's body, because I would love this card. So now moving on to the next card, I'm going to take all of these colored balloons that I colored using the Karin Brushmarker Pros. I used various colors of these markers to create these beautiful watercolored balloons, and I'm going to kind of arrange them in a rainbow order. It's kind of not a linear rainbow order, but you kind of get the drift here that we have like the red, orange, yellow, green, blue kind of going on. I'm adding them on using some foam adhesive. And I did stamp my card base with the Ocean Waves background stamp that I used earlier on that vellum circle. So this does have a little bit of tone-on-tone texture to it. And once I get all of my balloons adhered the way that I want them, I'm going to use that same happy die cut that I used earlier and another strip of cardstock that I typed the word birthday on using my We Are Memory Keepers Typecast typewriter. And I am going to adhere this sentiment strip on using some foam adhesive as well. But before I do that, I am going to take the string of the balloon and I'm going to stamp this onto my card. Now I'm going right over these balloons that are already adhered on with some foam adhesive. This is probably not the smartest thing to do. I'm going to admit that right there, but I was already in it. And so I just went for it. Which is what I tend to do. I tend to like act first and then go, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing. So once I have my strings stamped onto my card, you can see I went right over the top of some of those balloons. I'm going to adhere my sentiment strip. And then I added a little bit of the Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen to my balloons as well to give them a little bit of sparkle. And I finished that second card off with some sparkling clear sequins as well. So there you have it, a couple of simple birthday cards featuring some stamps and dies from Hero Arts, as well as some watercoloring featuring the Karin Brushmarker Pros. And I was able to get some really beautiful watercolor effect with these markers. But keep in mind, you can achieve watercolor effects with a lot of different markers that are out on the market. So try this with whatever you have. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. It will be linked below. Over there, I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications for my YouTube channel so you won't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials. Thanks again for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you are all doing well, and I hope this video was a little bright spot in your day. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. If you want to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.